When you think of Canada, you probably imagine overly nice conversations, endless hockey rinks, and lush landscapes that take the breath away faster than a Canadian wind gust. Known for its snowy winters, awkward level politeness, and majestic moose sightings, Canada embodies a sense of rustic charm and tranquility. But what if we were to tell you that alongside these charming stereotypes, there are some big maple leaf-sized bucks being thrown around up north? Indeed, the Thomsons, the richest family in Canada, bar none, and one of the wealthiest in the world, have come a long way from their humble beginnings as poor Scottish farmers. More than just rich people, they've worked their way into the British aristocracy, owning the media conglomerate Thomson Reuters and wielding enormous influence over Canada's economic and cultural landscapes. And yet, despite their staggering fortune, the Thomsons have mastered the art of staying out of the spotlight, avoiding the typical trappings of the wealthy elite. In today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we'll dive into their enigmatic world, exploring the rags to riches saga of a family who continue to shape Canada's future from the shadows, as we describe the Thomsons, the secretive family who controls Canada. The Thomson family, one of the wealthiest families in the world and the absolute richest in Canada, sit pretty atop a mountain of cash that's roughly $61.3 billion high. And as of January 2024, this dazzling figure lands them in the 21st spot on Forbes' real-time billionaires list, a club where money talks and where the Thomsons have a lot to say. Now, their cash cow is the Woodbridge Company, the heavyweight parent of media colossus Thomson Reuters, and what began as Roy Thomson's quaint little radio station in 1930s Ontario has morphed into a global Goliath in news, information and tech services. But the Thomsons aren't ones to rest on their media laurels, and their investment portfolio is a smorgasbord of ventures. For example, current family patriarch David Thomson, the third Baron Thomson of Fleet, runs Morgan Bay Capital, a hedge fund that makes the family's money work as hard as they do. But their empire stretches even further into sports and entertainment via True North Sports and Entertainment, proud owners of the Winnipeg Jets and the Canada Life Centre. You see, David took the reins after his father Kenneth Thomson's death in 2006, and he steered the family's ship into ever-expanding waters with a heady mix of strategic genius and a love for flying under the radar. Osmington Incorporated, David's real estate baby, is no slouch either. The firm's commercial property investments have paid off handsomely, including a $336 million stake sale in retail properties to the Canada Pension Plan in 2010. But the Thomsons are more than financial wizards. They're art connoisseurs par excellence, and their collection is the stuff of dreams, with David amassing masterpieces by Rembrandt, J.M.W. Turner and John Constable. In fact, his stash of Constable's works is reportedly the largest in the world. But what is all that canvas if you can't stash it up in a lavish estate? And David's mammoth-sized Toronto pad in the swanky Rosedale neighbourhood is old money elegance at its finest. This lavish residence, expanded to house his priceless art collection, even boasts an underground gallery. And the property, valued at several $1 million, is just one gem in their glittering private real estate portfolio scattered across North America and Europe. However, despite their mountainous wealth, the Thomson family manages to keep a surprisingly low profile. David, in particular, is an elusive figure, dodging the spotlight and keeping interviews at bay. This air of mystery only adds to the allure of their immense fortune, making their story a captivating saga of success and secrecy. With that said, join us as we play detective on this enigmatic old money dynasty and see what we can find as to their route to wealth in the next chapter. The ancestors of what would become Canada's richest family, and British aristocrats no less, were, believe it or not, small Scottish tenant farmers, toiling on the estates of the Dukes of Buccleuch at Bowness in the parish of Westerkirk, Dumfriesshire, Scotland. Therefore, before the Canadian riches made it rain, the Thomson family's lives were marked by the rhythms of the land, the cycle of seasons, and the whispers of Highland winds. And then, in 1773, Archibald Thomson, driven by the lure of new opportunities and the weight of economic hardship, embarked on a bold journey from Westerkirk to Canada, then British North America. This migration was part of a larger exodus, as many Scots sought refuge from the harsh agricultural reforms and economic pressures of the time, hoping to find prosperity across the Atlantic. Archibald's voyage led him to Quebec, where he married Elizabeth Mackay, and together they ventured further into the wilds of Upper Canada. Yet their hearts remained tied to the rugged landscapes of their homeland. In fact, Archibald's brother, David Thomson, etched his name into history by becoming the very first European settler of Scarborough, Ontario. The significance of this milestone cannot be overstated, as Scarborough is one of the most well-known areas in the province and includes numerous landmarks, including the Toronto Zoo, Rouge Park, and the Scarborough Bluffs. Now, the first true family patriarch who helped guide the Thomson name to wealth was Roy Herbert Thomson, born on the 5th of June 1894 in Toronto, Ontario. And his father, Herbert Thomson, a telegraphist turned barber, and his mother, Alice Maud, of English descent, nurtured their family in a humble abode at 32 Monteith Street. And though Roy's early education was cut short when he left school at 14, his year at Mr. Eliot's Business College, where he studied bookkeeping, ignited a spark for commerce within him. His first foray into business came through assisting his affluent Aunt Hyslop, who dealt in second mortgages, and as she was impressed by his meticulous bookkeeping, she entrusted him with greater responsibilities, leading him to co-invest in mortgages by the age of 15, thus beginning his lifelong obsession with wealth accumulation. But the 1920s and 1930s were a tumultuous period for Thomson. At 24, he attempted farming in Manitoba, only to lose most of his capital. Undeterred, he ventured into the auto parts business at 30, facing initial failure due to liquidity issues. Soon, his second attempt saw moderate success, though it didn't bring significant rewards. These early failures, however, only fueled his determination. In the early 1930s, Thomson's entrepreneurial spirit found fertile ground in the radio business. Selling radios in Northern Ontario, he perceived a gap in the market. His customers needed more content. In 1931, he established his own radio station, CFCH, in North Bay, Ontario. And this venture turned out to be a resounding success, boosting his radio sales and generating advertising revenue. Emboldened, he expanded his radio operations, opening a second station in Timmins in 1933. Thomson's pivotal move into the newspaper industry came in 1934, when he acquired the struggling Timmins Daily Press for a down payment of $200. Transforming it from a weekly to a daily paper, he began his expansion into media. Over the next decade, he acquired more radio stations and newspapers, steadily building his media empire. And by the end of the 1940s, Thomson's empire encompassed 19 newspapers, and he held the presidency of the Canadian Daily Newspaper Publishers Association. And his strategy was both simple and effective, acquiring small-town newspapers that enjoyed monopolistic positions in their local markets, ensuring a steady stream of advertising revenue. Thomson's ambitions were not confined to Canada. In 1952, he purchased The Scotsman, a prestigious Edinburgh newspaper, marking his entry into the British media market. 5 years later, he secured the commercial television franchise for Central Scotland, launching Scottish Television, which he famously described as a license to print money due to its profitability. By the late 1950s, his media holdings spanned Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. And despite his immense success, Roy Thomson was known for his humility and unpretentious lifestyle. He shunned ostentatious displays of wealth, often using public transportation and focusing on the commercial aspects of his businesses with a meticulous eye. In 1964, Roy Thomson's contributions to the media industry were formally recognized with the title of Baron Thomson of Fleet, cementing his status as a media magnate and fulfilling his long-held aspiration to join the ranks of British peerage. Little did he know, however, that his successes in business and social status were just the beginning of a family empire that would do more than just sell a few newspapers and receive a fancy title. Roy's son and heir apparent, Kenneth Roy Thomson, entered the world on the 1st of September 1923 in Toronto. Although Kenneth's formative years unfolded across Toronto, Ottawa, and North Bay, mirroring the ebb and flow of his father's expanding business ventures. By 1937, the family had returned to Toronto, and young Kenneth found himself enrolled at the esteemed Upper Canada College, where he would receive an education that would serve as a springboard into his future endeavours. However, the outbreak of World War II interrupted Kenneth's academic pursuits, and at the tender age of 19, he joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in December 1942. His role as an instrument mechanic and later as an editor for the RCAF magazine Wings Abroad, stationed in England, hinted at a future intertwined with journalism and media. After the war, Kenneth pursued higher education with vigour, earning a master's degree in law from St John's College, University of Cambridge. And with his studies completed, he returned to Canada in 1947, eager to dive into his father's burgeoning business. Starting humbly as a reporter for the family's Timmins Daily Press, Kenneth's journey through the ranks was one of hands-on learning and relentless determination. After that, for 5 years, Kenneth honed his skills at the Galt Reporter, taking on roles from advertising salesman to general manager. These years provided a comprehensive understanding of the newspaper industry, knowledge that would later prove indispensable. And then, in 1953, Kenneth took the helm of Thomson newspapers, overseeing Canadian and American operations from Toronto. His personal life also blossomed during this period. He married model Nora Marilyn Lavis in 1956, and the couple welcomed 3 children, David, Peter, and Leslie, later known as Taylor. And the Thomson Empire's global reach expanded under Kenneth's stewardship. In 1966, following his father's acquisition of the Times newspaper in London, Kenneth relocated to England. By 1968, he was chairman of Times Newspapers Limited, immersing himself in the complexities of international media management. Kenneth returned to Toronto in 1970 and became joint chairman of the Thomson organisation with his father in 1971. This transition of power was a prelude to his full control of the family business upon Roy Thomson's death in 1976. And as the second Baron Thomson of Fleet, Kenneth inherited a media conglomerate valued at approximately $500 million, with diverse interests spanning newspapers, television, travel, and oil. And Kenneth's leadership marked a strategic pivot for the Thomson Corporation. He refocused the company's efforts on North America, selling the British newspaper assets, including the Times and the Sunday Times, to Rupert Murdoch in 1981, amidst a turbulent labour dispute. This divestment signalled a shift towards specialised information services and electronic publishing. Major acquisitions, such as Wadsworth Textbook Publishing in 1978 and legal publisher West Publishing in 1996, exemplified this new direction. By the dawn of the 21st century, the Thomson Corporation had evolved into a digital media and information powerhouse, leaving its traditional newspaper roots behind. Under Kenneth's astute guidance, the company's value soared from $500 million in 1976 to a staggering $29.3 billion by 2006. And the Thomson family's wealth grew in tandem, with their stake valued at over $19 billion, positioning Kenneth among the world's wealthiest individuals. And yet, despite his monumental success, Kenneth maintained an unassuming lifestyle just like his father. Known for his frugality, he often shunned luxuries, preferring to shop for his groceries, drive himself, and could even be seen riding the London Underground, the public subway, like any other person. And Kenneth's family life was a blend of affluence and caution as well. He and Nora Marilyn Lavis raised their children in an environment steeped in privacy and discretion, with Kenneth keenly aware of the potential pitfalls of inherited wealth and instilled a sense of responsibility and prudence in his offspring. Now, Kenneth's later years were marked by significant philanthropy. His most notable contribution was a $370 million donation of his art collection and funds to the Art Gallery of Ontario in 2002, facilitating a major renovation by architect Frank Gehry. And even in his final years, Kenneth remained actively involved in the family's business through the private holding company Woodbridge. His sudden death in 2006 at the age of 82 brought an end to an era for the Thomson dynasty, leaving a legacy of profound influence and transformation in the global media landscape. But Kenneth had shared a close bond with his eldest son, David, whom he began grooming from a young age to eventually take over the family business. This plan was part of a vision laid out decades earlier by first family patriarch, the aforementioned Roy Thomson. Thus, when Kenneth Thomson passed away in June 2006, control of the family fortune seamlessly transitioned to David. Roy Thomson had written in his 1975 autobiography, "David, my grandson, will have to take his part in the running of the organization, and David's son too." He further emphasized, "With the fortune that we will leave to them go also responsibilities. These Thomson boys that come after Ken are not going to be able, even if they want to shrug off these responsibilities." The third-generation patriarch, David Kenneth Roy Thomson, was born on the 12th of June 1957 in Toronto. By then, quite naturally, his family was one of immense prestige and influence, with his brother Peter Thomson pursuing a path of speed and adrenaline as a race car driver, and his sister Taylor Thomson carving her own distinct path. David's early years were marked by an education that set the foundation for his future endeavours, and he attended Upper Canada College and the Hall School, institutions known for their rigorous academic standards. In 1978, he completed his studies at Selwyn College, Cambridge, earning a Bachelor of Arts in History. Meanwhile, Peter Thomson's journey took a different route, no pun intended, and Peter's passion for auto racing was evident from a young age. After completing his education at Royal St George's College, he dabbled in photography through unpaid internships at local newspapers, opportunities facilitated by his father, Ken Thomson. Yet the call of the racetrack was too strong to ignore. In 1986, Peter began his rally racing career, swiftly making a name for himself in the sport, including several national championship wins. Now, David's foray into the family business began in the 1990s, with him starting as a junior associate at MacLeod Young Weir in Toronto, a move that proved to be a stepping stone that led to various roles within the Thomson family's extensive enterprises. Managing the Bay store at Cloverdale Mall in Etobicoke, and later serving as president of Zellers, were pivotal roles that honed his business acumen. However, David sought to carve his own path and founded Osmington Incorporated, a real estate firm that operated independently of the Thomson empire. Osmington focused on acquiring and managing commercial real estate assets for institutional shareholders, including the Thomson family. Osmington's portfolio also boasted a partnership in True North Sports and Entertainment, owning the NHL's Winnipeg Jets and the Canada Life Centre in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Additionally, Osmington took on the ambitious project of redeveloping the retail space of Toronto's Union Station and planned to introduce the Shake Shack fast food chain to Canada with 35 outlets. Inheriting the title of Third Baron Thomson of Fleet, David assumed the mantle of family patriarch following his father's passing in 2006. As chairman of Thomson Corporation, he led the company through a significant merger with Reuters in 2008, forming Thomson Reuters, a global information services powerhouse. Despite his prominent role, David's relationship with the family business was fraught with frustration. He often expressed a desire to shift focus toward his passions in art and real estate, a sentiment that was perhaps intensified by the intense media scrutiny surrounding his personal life. One such controversy erupted in 2006 during his divorce from Laurie Ludwig. Their tumultuous relationship and subsequent legal battle captivated the public, revealing allegations of harassment and intimidation. And Ludwig claimed that David and his agents had engaged in intrusive behavior, including unauthorized entry into their home and removal of personal items. The case was set to establish new precedents for extraordinary childcare expenses in Canada, given its high-profile nature and substantial financial implications. David's financial disclosures during the divorce also painted a picture of a complex and intricate corporate structure designed to manage the family's vast wealth. Despite his substantial income which included a monthly salary exceeding $100,000 and significant trust income, David reported a monthly budget deficit. Ludwig's lawyer criticized the lack of transparency in David's financial disclosures, suggesting that the true extent of his wealth was being concealed. This opacity and the elaborate financial arrangements often became focal points of contention in legal disputes involving the Thomson family. Another significant legal entanglement ensnared Taylor Thomson, David's sister, in a high-profile espionage saga. In 2002, Taylor was implicated in a notorious case involving Anthony Pellicano, a disreputable Los Angeles private investigator, amidst her custody battle with Michael Kolesa, the father of her child. Though she denied these allegations, the case cast a shadow over the family, revealing the extreme measures they would undertake to safeguard their privacy and interests. Throughout these controversies, the Thomson family tried to uphold a stringent code of privacy, employing extraordinary measures to shield their personal lives from the public gaze. Court documents were sealed, and employees were bound by confidentiality agreements. Yet despite these efforts, their legal and financial turmoils occasionally seeped into the public sphere, offering a rare glimpse into the lives of one of Canada's most enigmatic and influential families. These controversies highlighted the delicate balancing act the Thomsons faced, juggling their vast wealth and power with an unrelenting desire for privacy and control over their public image. Therefore, the Thomson family, a towering presence in Canada's social and economic landscape, has long been a magnet for both fascination and scrutiny. And now we'd like to see you in the comments. Are you a native of Canada? And what is your opinion on the Thomson family's legacy and presence in the country? We love making content based on your thoughts below, so don't be afraid to drop a sentence or two to let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for another episode, and cheers until next time.